Hello dear students, I welcome you all in today's lecture, that is Political Socialization, its Meaning and Agents. The objectives of today's lecture are introducing the concept of political socialization, defining political socialization and its meanings, to discuss different main perspectives on the process of political socialization, to discuss some dimensions of political socialization, to examine and analyze the types of political socialization. Political socialization refers to the way in which political values are formed and the political culture is transmitted from one generation to the next. According to Elmond and Verba, I quote, "It's the process by which political cultures are maintained and changed. It's a process through which people, especially young people, learn about politics and are taught a society's common values and beliefs. The process that determines the crystallization of ideas, party loyalties, voting behavior, etc., is the subject of political socialization. It's believed that childhood plays an important role in formulating the belief structures of most people throughout their lives. Most children acquire their basic political values and behavior patterns by adolescence. Some of these attitudes will evolve and change throughout their lives, while other attitudes may remain part of their political self throughout the life. At any specific time, a person's political beliefs are a combination of various feelings and attitudes. At the deepest level, there are general identifications such as nationalism, ethnic or class self-image, religious and ideological commitments, and the fundamental sense of rights and duties in the society. At the middle level, people develop attitudes towards politics and governmental institutions. Finally, there are more immediate views of current events, policies, issues, and personalities. All these attitudes can change, but those in the first level usually were acquired earliest, have most frequently reinforced, and tend to be the most durable. It's clear that political attitudes and beliefs does not drop from the sky like rain. They are acquired through learning and social experience. The processes through which that happens is usually called as political socialization. Now let us discuss the definition and meaning of political socialization. Political socialization, according to Elmond and Verba, I quote, is a process by which political culture are maintained and changed. Aston and Dennis define political socialization as, I quote, those development processes by which persons acquire political orientations and patterns of their behavior. According to Austin Rennie, I quote, political socialization generally means socialization of masses, the process by which ordinary people develop their attitudes towards their political system. Alan Orball defines political socialization as, I quote, the establishment and development of beliefs about the political system. The most comprehensive definition of political socialization has been given by Dr. S. Bhatnagar. He says, I quote, political socialization means all political learning, formal, informal, deliberate, unplanned, latent or manifest, diffuse or specific, at every stage of the life cycle, including not only explicit political learning, but also apparently non-political learning of general culture which affects political behavior. According to Robert Seigel, the goal of political socialization is to train or develop individuals that they become well-functioning members of a political society. And survival, after all, is a prime goal of the political organism, just as it is of the individual organism. Political socialization thus means the process by which individual becomes acquainted with the political system and which determines his reaction to political phenomena. While political culture is a sociological aspect, political socialization is a psychological concept. It concerns itself with orientations of the individual towards political objects. Since the individual is continually being influenced in his political attitude, orientations, and values, the process of socialization goes on throughout the life. The process through which political culture is shaped at individual level and at the community level is passed on from one generation to another generation is called political socialization. Political socialization is thus a learning process by which norms and behavior acceptable to well-running political system are transmitted from generation to another. The learning process involving an internalization of the existing cultural pattern is called socialization. And whenever this process has clearly a political context, it's known as political socialization. Now, dear students, let us discuss perspectives on the socialization process. Interest in the process arises from two very different sources. Radicals and Marxists have long emphasized the degree to which the ideas of a ruling or economically dominant class pervade society, encouraging the subordinate classes to accept the existing distribution of wealth and resources. This is political socialization as ideological domination. In this view, the socialization process is seen as essentially conscious or deliberate. It amounts in its crudest form to a process of indoctrination that takes place throughout a person's life and is carried out by institutions such as the media and the state. Conventional political scientists, however, tend to understand socialization in the light of behavioral revolution of the 1950s and 1960s. Influenced by the picture of human nature as essentially malleable, they took to the social environment to explain individual and group behavior. From this perspective, socialization is typically unplanned and informal. It operates largely through the agency of family and shapes individuals during childhood when the human organism is a black box, waiting to be filled. Political socialization is therefore portrayed as the transmission of values and beliefs from one generation to the next in the interest of social cohesion and political stability rather than in the cause of economic subordination. The interest about political socialization has dimmed since 1960s in part because it has proved frustratingly difficult to demonstrate empirically how the process works. Whether this process is formal or informal, planned or unplanned, it operates through a linkage between social factors on the one hand and the attitude and behaviors on the other. A correlation has, however, been established by empirical political scientists between social class and voting behavior, although this does not amount to an explanation. To note that a particular socioactor is statistically significant is not to explain how or why it exerts an influence. The limitation of theories of political socialization is therefore that in common with behavioralism itself, they fail to take account of personality and individual experience. Now, dear students, let us discuss the important dimensions of the process of socialization. First, the socialization process can occur in different ways. Direct socialization involves an actor explicitly communicating information, values, or feelings towards politics. Example of direct socialization include civic courses in the schools, public education programs of the government, and the political information campaigns of the interest groups. For instance, it is said that communist political systems also heavily use direct indoctrination programs. Indirect political socialization occurs when political views are inadvertently molded by our experiences. For example, children normally learn important political values by observing the behavior of their parents, teachers, and friends. Or people may learn by observing the political and social context that surrounds them, watching what governments do and how other citizens react. Second, socialization is a lifelong process. There is an impact of family influence on the development of initial value system of an individual. However, with subsequent experiences from the life and involvement in new social groups, moving from one part of the country to another, shifting up and down the social ladder, becoming a parent, finding or losing a job may change one's political perspectives. The more dramatic experiences like shifting to a new country or suffering economic losses or a war can change even basic political attitudes. Such events seem to have their greater impact on young people, although people at any age get affected to some degree. Third, Patterns of socialization has potential to unify or divide. To create a single national political culture, government designs public education system. Some events such as international conflict or the death of a popular public figure can affect nearly the entire nation alike. In contrast, subcultures in a society can have their own distinctive patterns of socialization. Social groups that provide their members with their own newspapers, their own neighborhood groups, and perhaps their own schools can create distinctive subcultural attitudes. Divisive patterns of socialization can lead to a political gap among members of a nation. Now, dear students, let us discuss the different types of political socialization. According to Elman and Powell, political socialization is of two types, manifest and latent. Let us discuss them one by one. Manifest political socialization. Political socialization is manifest when certain values or feelings towards a political objects are put into the minds or others directly, clearly, and manifestly. It's manifest when it involves the explicit communication of informations, values, or feelings towards political objects. It includes the process of formal instruction given in schools or colleges about political things. Lessons in the advantages of democracy, rights of citizens, respect for authority, love of political system are the examples of manifest socialization. The civic courses in American public high school or compulsory courses of Marxism, Leninism in former Soviet Union at school level are also examples of manifest political socialization. Latent political socialization. Political socialization is latent or hidden when attitude developed towards non-political things becomes an attitude towards political things. An attitude of submission to the authority of father in family makes us submit to the authority in the political system. Political socialization is the transmission of non-political attitudes which affects attitudes towards analogous roles and objects in the political system. It works unnoticed and is deep-rooted. It's learned automatically by experience, contact, vision, and insight. According to Elman and Powell, I quote, "The child acquires certain general attitudes of accommodation or of aggression towards political leader and his fellow citizens. It's all automatic and unnoticed process." There are other types of political socializations which include particularistic socialization. It implies that an individual is taught only a particular type of role, say of uneven group or tribe, and he does not learn anything about other roles. There are people found around the country and outside who teach their children to love their own caste, language, and religion, which simply means socializing them into particularistic values. Another one is universalistic socialization. This type of socialization teaches a cosmopolitan and universalistic outlook. In a modern and complex society, a person learns different kinds of roles, say as a family member, church member, member of an occupational group, etc. This means universalistic socialization. But modern society also teaches overriding loyalty to a particular country as a citizen. Such a socialization is both universalistic and particularistic because it prepares a man for roles which concern other members of society but at the same time for a particular country. Next one is affective socialization. It means the transmission and learning of emotional values like pride in one's political system, loyalty to one's country, respect for rules, etc. Another one is instrumental socialization. It means teaching of more pragmatic, bargaining and calculating strategies. For example, the belief that political system should be supported not for all times, but only so long as one derives benefits as instrumental socialization. Next one is specific socialization. Socialization may be specific if specific attitudes and values are imparted by specific structures. In a modern society, social structures are well differentiated. So different things are taught in family, school, employment, political parties, and so on. Next one is diffuse socialization. It means learning about vague things such as religion, politics, economy, society, etc. It obtains in countries where there is no differentiation between society and polity. Now let us discuss the agents of political socialization. Individuals in all societies are affected by agents of political socialization. There are numerous socializing agents exercising differential influences. Some, like civic courses in schools, are direct and deliberate sources of political learning. Others, like playgroups and work groups, affect political socialization indirectly. First one is the family. Family is often seen as the agent that accomplishes primary socialization, providing individuals in the late childhood and adolescence in particular with a framework of political sympathies and leanings that adult experience may modify or deepen, but seldom radically transform. In the past, this certainly demonstrated by habitual patterns of voting behavior linked to family background. But the link has been weakened with the growth of instrumental voting shaped by pursuit of self-interest. As is seen, family influence play an important role and is the core support base of political parties. This is consolidated in childhood itself. We are familiar with the long communist or lifelong Congress or BJP supporters in political life. Although children view politics more as amusement, the fact remains that elders in the family wield considerable influence on the children throughout their lives. The post-independence generation in India provided firm support in the formative years, nurtured by the magic of Gandhi and Nehru. Even after their deaths, their memories lingered for a long time, with many who were in the mid-20s at that time of India's independence, continuing to vote for them throughout their lives. Political discussion in the presence of children also leave a lasting imprint. For decades, communists in Bengal could not understand why the jute mill workers from Bihar voted for the Congress. They ultimately realized that it was not local politics that determines voting. Rather, such voting is influenced by the politics in the hometown and villages of the migrants. The family has distinctive influences on the attitudes towards authority. Participation in family decision making can increase a child's sense of political competence, providing skills for political interaction and encouraging active participation in political system as an adult. Similarly, unquestioning obedience to parental decisions may lead to a child towards a role as a political subject. The family also shapes future political attitudes by defining a social position for the child, establishing ethnic, linguistic, class, and religious ties, affirming cultural values and influencing job aspirations. Moreover, with the change in gender roles, both in industrial as well as in developing world, the role of women may have profound influences in modernizing the society through socialization. Next one is influence of schooling. The values taught freedom, equality, and liberty. Liberal democracies inculcate their own opinions. Participation in class elections for choosing class representatives and student bodies also helps in formulating opinions. At the college level, political beliefs are sharpened through interactions within a larger informed community. Education is, after all, a process of informal tuition, but it may also involve important informal learning process. Social thinkers such as Paul Goodman and Ivan Illich have argued that formal schooling routinized unthinking obedience, which encouraged them to call for the deschooling of society. For instance, what schools teach about authority, discipline, and obedience is perhaps less significant than the ways in which lessons are organized and teachers behave. In some nations, educational systems do not provide unifying political socialization. For instance, some Muslim countries segregate girls and boys within the school system. Even if educational experiences are intended to be equal, segregation creates different experiences and expectations. Education also affects the political skills and resources of the public. Educated people are more aware of the impact of the government on their lives and pay more attention to politics. They also have more information about political processes and participate in a wider range of political activities. Next one is religious institutions. The religions of the world are carriers of cultural and moral values which often have political implications. The great religious leaders have seen themselves as teachers and their followers have usually attempted to shape the socialization of children through schooling, preaching, and religious services. In most nations, there are formal ties between the dominant religion and the government. In such nations, religious values and public policies often overlap. For example, in Catholic nations, it is less likely to have liberal abortion policies, just as Islamic governments enforce strict moral codes. Religious affiliations are often important source of partisan preferences and can guide people in making other political choices. Even though church attendance is decreasing in many nations, the political relevance of religion continues. The religion may have declined in significance with the advance of secularization, but in certain parts of the world, the emergence of religious fundamentalism in recent decades have influenced the society and politics of countries as diverse as United States, India, Israel, Lebanon, Iran, Pakistan, Algeria, and Egypt. Next one is peer groups. Peer groups are instrumental in shaping the political attitudes. These include childhood playgroups, friendship cliques, school and college fraternities, small work groups, and other groups in which members share relatively equal status and close ties. They can be varied as a group of Russian mothers who meet regularly at the park, to a street gang in Brazil, to a group of Wall Street executives who are members of a health club. A peer group socializes its members by motivating or pressuring them to conform to the attitudes or behavior accepted by the group. Individuals often adopt the views of their peers because they like or respect them or because they want to be like them. Similarly, an individual may become interested in politics or attend a political demonstration because close friends do so. Next one is social class. Political socialization is also determined largely by the socio-economic conditions of a person. Most societies have significant social divisions based on class or occupation. Often these social divisions are politically relevant. Identifying themselves with the working class or the peasantry leads to distinct political views about what issues are important and which political groups best represent their interest. Next one is mass media. Newspapers, radio, television, magazines are important in socializing attitudes and values in nations around the globe. Mass media is typically the prime source of information on the politics of day. It plays an important role in molding the views of the people. There is one thing most people in the world share in common. We sit before our television to learn about the world. Television can have a powerful cognitive and emotional impact on large public audiences. Watching events on television such as budget session and other government affairs, war in Iraq and Ukraine gives a reality to the news. Seeing the world directly can shape the political attitudes. Today, the internet provides another source of news through social media platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, and Twitter, etc. Access to information and control on media has become an important political commodity in the contemporary world. Next one is political parties. Political parties normally play an important role in political socialization. In democratic systems, political parties attempt to mold issue preferences, arouse the apathetic, and find new issues to mobilize support. During the elections, political parties present their accomplishments and discuss the nation's future. Election can serve as national civic lessons, and the political parties are the teachers. In competitive democratic party system, partisan socialization can be also a divisive force. In their effort to gain support, political leaders may appeal to class, language, religion, and ethnic divisions and make citizens more aware of these differences. For example, Labour and Conservative Party in Britain used traditional symbols of class to attract supporters. Similarly, the Congress Party in India used to develop a national program and appeal, and some parties emphasize the ethnic and religious divisions. Next one is direct contact with the government. The wide scope of governmental activities brings citizens into frequent contact with various governmental agencies. The degree of governmental intervention in daily life and hence the necessity for contacts with the government varies greatly across the nations as a function of their political system and the role of governments in the society. These personal experiences are powerful agents of political socialization, strengthening or undercutting the image presented by other agents. Now, dear students, let's conclude today's lecture. The concept of political socialization can provide great help in comparative study of political systems. It seems to be one of the most promising approaches to comprehend political stability and development in the nations. It cannot deny that all our actions in the field are determined by the different agents of political socialization, and we behave accordingly. The source of political socialization often determine the content of what is learned about politics. The role of these different socialization agents and the content of their political message vary systematically across the nations. The ability of a nation to create its political culture in succeeding generations is an important factor in perpetuating the political system. Thus, socialization provides the feedback mechanism that enables a political culture to endure or change. This was all about today's lecture. I hope you all have enjoyed. Thank you. Have a nice day.